Unrelenting is now. Hello and welcome to episode number 99 of Unrelenting, and I hate
99.
Snow. Yeah,
Wow.
99. That means we should have a huge influx of donations for the next show.
I would
Huge.
hope so.
Massive.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievably big.
Huge.
I'm Darren
Huge.
O'Neill. He's Gene Devdulov.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I need a new snow blower. Man, we got hit with snow. And I got like half the driveway done. But the snow blower was like halfway cracked and bent.
Well, how many cars you got? What do you need more than half?
True. There was only one car that regularly leaves. But the wife hit the snow blower in the garage like last year and then never ordered the new part to.
Of course.
I know. It's like, wouldn't you think maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Until you wait until the snow is on the ground. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not doing the walkway. I mean, it's just too heavy. It's so heavy that even doing like an inch at a time trying to do the shoveling thing, it's like, nope, not going to do it. Don't want to
So
get
it
a heart
works.
attack.
No. And you know, statistically speaking, the best way for a man to die in snow country is to have a broken snowblower.
Right?
It's statistically true. I mean, you can't argue with stats.
Because then you go out there and you're like, well, I have to move it. And it's like, nope, I just go the
Mhm.
other route, like not moving it at all.
No. A snowblower is probably the greatest invention in prevention of health issues for men.
Oh, yeah. And it is. It's such a difference in as far as how much effort you have to put out there. I mean, it's like freaking magical.
Yeah.
You're just walking slowly.
I mean, I don't know what kind you got, but when I was a kid, so this is back in the old country, old times, right? But we had a tracked model from Honda, so there was literally zero effort. It pulled you along.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I need. We have just a regular
Wheeled.
middle of the line, wheeled Toro, and
Mm-hmm.
you need something. I mean,
Toro.
we haven't been hit really with a lot
I
of
remember
snow,
those guys. I did some work for them.
but when you get hit, then it's necessary, and it was
How many
enough.
feet?
You know, we probably got 5 to 6 inches overnight, and it's heavy, wet
Mhm.
stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then we're supposed to get it through tonight into tomorrow. Although right now they're saying it's just warm enough because I'm looking here at my meter and it's 32 degrees outside.
Oh, so it's all getting that ice on the bottom.
And they're saying we might get some rain for a little while and then
Oh,
turn
boy.
back into snow.
Oh, that's the best for road conditions.
And then for the after that happens, we're having 3 days where the high is going to be like -2. Right? I mean, you're like, I'm so glad I'm not up in the Great White North.
You're probably happy you're not working.
I'm just happy. It's like, I'm just not going to leave the house.
Yeah.
We got the
It's,
groceries. We are all set. And I don't know why. It was the first time ever. I mean, we order our groceries like you do. I mean, everybody can check it off the bingo card,
Right.
grocery
Right.
ordering talk. But I went to do that on Wednesday of this week. Normally I do it on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
but we pushed it back to Wednesday and I did the whole order, was done with it by about 8:45 in the morning. And there were no slots open for Wednesday. They had no
Mhm,
pickup
mhm.
slots. So I don't know what happened. That was the first time that ever happened. So we had to wait till yesterday to pick up the groceries. Luckily, they had most
I got
of
a
it.
grocery story for you too.
Oh, boy. And the freezer is working. I plugged that in. So now we just buy frozen stuff, throw it in there, and now you don't have to leave the house for a month.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. So let me tell my story with the groceries. So I've been fasting, right?
Yes, for 10 days. And you
10
started
days.
eating yesterday, right?
Yeah, last night. So it was exactly. I mean, I
You
could have
timed
waited
it.
till today, but I kind of figured, well, technically the last meal I had was about 8 p.m. So I broke the fast at about 8 p.m. But here's what happened. So I figured, what do I want to eat first, right? And I thought I'm really kind of in the mood for a lox bagel.
Oh, yeah. We had talked about that on the last
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
And
And
you've been wishing for it ever since.
for a while. And so I had ordered bagels from New York from my bagel guy.
Oh, you have a bagel guy? Does he overnight them to?
Yeah, they FedEx them.
Nice.
And so I got fresh New York bagels, and I ordered. I already had the cream cheese. I ordered pounded lox from HEB. So I'm like, this would be perfect. I even timed the delivery to be no earlier than my fast breaking so that I don't, well, a little earlier. I think I had it at about 5 p.m. just to give them time to deliver and everything. So get a message, your food has been delivered. Okay, walk out to the door, open the door, no food.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, uh-oh. Like, shit. So either they delivered to the wrong house, or the delivery guy just marked it as done, but it hasn't actually showed up.
Right. He's running late, but doesn't want people to know.
Exactly. So I called up HEB. I'm like, okay, guys. So got a message, says food's been delivered, not here. And talked to them for about 10 minutes. They're trying to track it down. And then they say, okay, well, we got a photo of it being delivered. I'm like, okay. Describe the mat.
Right.
It's in front of the door. It's like, oh, there's no mat. That's not my house.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops. And they're like, oh, well, so sorry. You must have been one of your neighbors. Like, yeah, well, it's too bad your driver can't read address numbers.
Don't you have a GPS? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the problem is they use the GPS and just pick a random house around where the GPS tells them.
Right. It's close enough. It says stop
it's
here.
Like, oh, it says stop here. Must be one of these two. Flip a coin. God forbid you read a number. So, but I did look in my neighbor's house and there was no food in front. So they're like, okay, we'll do a redelivery. So they do a redelivery. Guess what's the one item they were out of for the redelivery?
The lox?
The lox.
Oh. Now, do they have it for the original delivery?
Yes.
Those bastards.
Yes. So they were out of it for that only.
Oh, and, man.
So I was not a happy camper about that event happening.
I can just hear you on the phone. You have no idea, dude. I have not eaten in 10 days. Literally.
I was trying to explain that to HEB. I'm like, this is literally why I ordered the food. It's the first meal in 10 days, guy. I'm sure the guy must have thought I was crazy.
Well, yeah, anybody that tells you they haven't eaten in 10 days.
Uh-huh.
You're like, sure, buddy. Then they look at you and they're like, you had lunch. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but it does have a happy ending in the end.
A 25-year-old Instagram model happens to live 2 doors down and realized your locks were your locks and brought them over.
Almost. I get a text message from my Muslim neighbor, and I say Muslim just because it's funny. And
to you or to everybody?
No. We're buddies. We go out to eat and stuff. And he said, "Hey, did you have ordered a bunch of food? Because I got a delivery here that has like bacon and lox."
And he's like, "I first thought of you."
Well, and he was like, "Well, my roommate put it all away, but I didn't order this." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, dude." So I said, "Yes, I did, but I got a replacement for everything. You can keep everything, keep the bacon, haha. But nice. Bring over the lox because they couldn't replace that. So I need my lox." So he comes over a little bit later. He's got the bacon, the lox, and then a bunch of iced tea. And so he brought half the iced tea that they misdelivered to him.
Oh, how many? Okay, well, you normally order like 30. How many bottles do they drop off there?
No, I just put in an order for 10 this time. So he brought over 5 bottles back.
Oh, but they put 10 bottles of iced tea at the wrong house.
At the wrong house, yeah.
And how much was the grand total of the food delivery?
$110.
Nice.
Or no, 130 with everything. The 110 would have been without the lox for the redelivery. 130 was the original order amount.
Well, I mean, the happy thing is it went to somebody you know that you knew wasn't going to try to poison you.
Yeah.
Or keep the food.
Well, I mean, I think it took him 2.5 hours to let me know after the fact. So,
did he realize like, wait, what is this? Why do we have lox in the fridge?
Yeah, exactly. I think his roommate put away the stuff and then thinking that he ordered it. And then by the time he got around to dinner time and opened the fridge, he was like, man, you got a bunch of food. And his roommate is, no, I didn't. I thought that you must have gotten it. So it's,
he's like, the
I'm assuming that's what happened. And I think the bacon tipped him off that, oh, you know what? I bet you this is a neighbor's order.
Well, at least it had a happy ending.
Yeah. Exactly. In the traditional sense, not the perverted sense.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is
back when I was a kid, happy ending had a different meaning.
With all of the way that the economy has gone, it's getting so hard to find reasonable people to do the jobs like delivery, like putting your orders together at wherever fast food place. It does seem like there is a massive dumbing down of employees. I mean, when we were 16, 17, we were working in places, and not for me fast food, but I worked in, different little, like the pool store, and worked for, a bookstore. It's like, I don't think I was completely incompetent.
Yeah. All the places that you're going to see a bunch of hot women.
Right. It's exactly why you get the jobs.
When you're a teenager, because that's, you know what? That's what 1980s movies taught us.
Porky's, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The good old days. All the things they cancel now. You can't have that.
I'm sure you've heard, this is a good transition, actually. I'm sure you've heard about the Jew tunnels in New York.
Yes, under the synagogue.
Yeah, under the synagogue. So there's obviously, as soon as that first popped up on video, a whole shit ton of anti-Semitic people are like, yep, see, that's where the Jews, they take the babies and they drink the blood right there, right out of the synagogue. It takes literally zero time for anything that could portray Jewish people in a negative light to be turned into, see, we told you, Satan worship. Hitler was right.
The Jews and Trump.
I saw a lot of those messages.
Yeah, well, people are nuts.
But then again, I hang out on the,
Well, you hang out in those types of areas, so there you go.
It might be my fault. But yeah, like No Agenda Social. But what I got from the other media, which is to say Israeli media, which was pretty damn funny, is it appears that the young Hasidic men were all virgins, remember, because you don't have sex till you're married, had managed to build a tunnel underneath the synagogue, going from an unused part of the synagogue to the women's dressing room.
Oh, well, this is like an 80s movie.
It is. It's Porky's. It's fucking Porky's, man. It's like, people are like, why are there dirty mattresses there? Why do you think? It's the tunnels. It wasn't even an exit. It was like where the tunnel went up to and had some holes in was the women's dressing room in the building across the street.
That's a lot of work,
which is
just
also
to see something.
Which is also a Jewish-owned building. So the theory is the tunnel actually originally was built much earlier, but the boys had managed to discover it and continue doing a little bit of excavation work to get to their desired target.
They repurposed it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what ultimately comes out of this thing. But you also see in the video, you see a bunch of young men with barely a beard, so you can tell they're really young because their beards are less than an inch long, jumping up on the furniture and yelling at the police. Like, where have we seen this type of behavior, but in different outfits?
All over?
Oh, wait a minute. So they're Zoomers. These are literally Hasidic Zoomers. They get, I can't even do this with a straight face. They're
dry.
They're
Come on.
Mad that the adults are turning off their pornography.
You're turning our tunnel away.
Oh, God.
It's a weird world.
It is a weird world.
A lot of hate, though. I mean, again,
I am curious to say now who's going to be next to say tunnels in Gaza, tunnels in New York, hold my beer. Because somebody will. But we'll have tunnels in Ukraine next thing you know.
well, don't forget that we had all the tunnels of all of the smuggling coming in over the southern border. That was always the big story.
We don't talk about that.
Oh, we don't? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Hush, hush.
Smuggling.
Operation Human Trafficking.
Yes. What was the guy's name that tunneled his way for like 10 miles? One of the mob bosses in Mexico.
Oh, right. El Chapo?
Chapo.
Yeah.
I think that was the guy. Yeah. 10-mile long tunnel. That's great.
I mean, hell, back in the day, that's what they used. Al Capone. There were tunnels under all the buildings in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Tunnels are very popular.
I was in the original, what are they called? Well, now I think their last name was the St. Paul Caves was the last name they went under, but the original smuggler speakeasy tunnels in St. Paul, which like St. Paul, Chicago, that was a regular path for mob activities.
Of course.
All the Chicago boys went up to St. Paul to hide out because St. Paul had a non-extradition with Chicago.
And we got to supply them with all the stuff they needed.
Yeah. And all the illegal booze and shit was all available. St. Paul was like a rowdy city back in the day. I bet, St. Paul didn't always used to be called St. Paul. It used to be called Pig's Eye.
Well, now that's a nice name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And apparently somebody decided, before we become a state capital, it might be wise to change the name of the city.
That'd be great. Pig's Eye's a great name.
Pig's Eye is a good name. And I mean, I think having a bunch of kids learning the name of the Minnesota capital as Pig's Eye would have been pretty damn funny.
They would have remembered that one over all others.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, but St. Paul, whatever.
Uh-huh. You want to go to Pig's Eye?
Yeah. Which, it totally makes sense that it was a hotbed for mob activity. And I have some photos of myself standing next to the bullet holes in the fireplace down there. That I can't remember which of the mobsters got shot there, but it was one of the famous ones. That's pretty fun times. Of course, now Minnesota is becoming in the process of slowly becoming a republic of
Somalia.
Somalia, yeah, part of the exclave of Somalia under the flag of Somalia.
It is an interesting case.
Who changes their fucking flag, dude? What state has changed their flag unless it was from pressure because it was too racist or something? The Minnesota flag, I'm sure you remember it, was
barely
blue, as is the state with Land O'Lakes. And in the middle, in a little circle, was a Norwegian farmer. And in the other half of the circle was an Indian chief trading goods. Oh my God, that's so offensive.
Totally racist and exclusionary.
Yeah, what about all the Somalis that actually own and run the state now?
But it's an interesting case because we see over and over again, it's a perfect case when you talk about people that immigrate into this country, and there are two completely different types of people. There's the one that wants to
loves America,
right? That wants to immerse themselves in the culture.
Yep.
That wants to make a better life and be a part of America. And then there's the others that basically create a new city, and then it keeps growing. That is nothing like what's around.
It's like right now, France is completely under control of the caliphate. I mean, Macron thinks he's running the country, but he's not. Countries actually run the Middle East. If you don't control immigration, then you have already lost the war. It's crazy.
Well, because you don't know who is coming across the border, and it seems to be
Yeah.
a lot of military-aged men.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about France or us?
Both.
Both. I know, right?
I saw an interview, it was just a little quick clip of a alleged, because they blurred him out and everything, but an alleged Iranian that had come across the southern border. And he was talking about the type of people that he's seeing, and he's like, a lot of Chinese. He's like, you have to ask yourself, if something happens, if the next event happens, if that next 9/11 happens, and you have millions of foreign nationals of military age in your country, whose side are they on?
Well, there's only one thing to do, You have to build internment camps.
Oh, of course.
So if they don't look American, you got to put them in a camp.
What does American look like these days?
Well, America is about 54% non-white. So I'd say you put all the whiteys in internment camps.
We're the minorities now. Why aren't we getting really special treatment?
Yeah, by special exclusion, whites can be the smallest minority possible and still get nothing but accused of having privilege.
Not logical.
Oh, well. Logic is a very racist creation. You know that.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Created by old white men in Greece.
Like, nobody questions it. I always say the same damn thing when people talk about immigration. Like, well, don't you want people to come in and get a better life? It's like, sure.
Fuck them. I don't. Fuck them.
But there's a system on how to do that so that there is a place for them to live, a job for them to have. This is the whole...
It's bad enough we have H-1Bs with actual, I guess, qualified people or people that are going to be paying taxes here. Like, I'm not in favor of that either. But the next level over, which is uncontrolled, undocumented, literally illegal by the laws of this country, which are not being followed for the last 3 years. People just wandering around of their own accord. I've had my car hit by somebody who is clearly illegal. And what, you think they have insurance? You think they pay for damages that they do to your vehicle? Hell no. My dad was hit in a car accident that had him in a life flight flying to the hospital a number of years back. Thankfully, he's made it, but he was out for like 3 days. Neither the car in front of him nor the car behind him had insurance.
Nice.
It's like, what the hell, man? These states they just don't care about their population, the population that actually pays taxes, that's supposed to be the only ones voting. No. And I posted a map on NAS recently, where I'm trying to cross post everything to X and NAS because I think there's going to be more people that are just on X as well. That had it showed the states and the level of precautions they take for voting, and in over half the states in the country, they don't actually verify citizenship for you to vote.
No, I think as long as you have a name that matches, that's something on there that was...
You don't even need that. All you need is 2 pieces of mail, like a bank statement and a utilities bill, and you can vote. You don't need a driver's license. You don't need anything other than 2 pieces of mail. For most states, that's all it takes. There's only about 15 states that require something that is tied to citizenship. Like for states where citizenship is required in order to get a driver's license, like in Texas.
Right. Where there's a lot of states now where they are intentionally letting people who are not citizens get driver's license.
Yeah, like California. Like you can't use a California driver's license to know that somebody's a U.S. citizen, or at least is legal in this country. Because I know somebody listening is going to be, what about all the green card people? Yeah. Green card people are legally in this country. So even though they don't have a citizenship, they can get a driver's license, but also they're not supposed to vote. But in most places, there's no way to validate to keep somebody with a green card from voting because they obviously have all the documents. They have driver's license, they have bank accounts, they have everything else. Not supposed to vote, but it's on them to themselves police themselves to not vote. But where do you think these extra 10 million people that showed up over the last few years, what do you think is the point of allowing them into the country? Do you think they'll be able to provide 2 pieces of paper?
Sure, that's
without
easy.
A driver's license and then vote for the what's on the little printed piece of paper that they were given?
Joe Biden. Always been that has been the thought process for the left, is that if we can flood the country with people that are destitute, I don't even think it matters what nationality. But if you can bring in people that are destitute that need the handouts, those are the ones that are going to vote for more handouts. It's just that simple.
Yep. Well, which kind of brings me nice round to a story that just came out today at least that I saw today, which is we might have a true start of the Civil War happening right now because Texas has now started using National Guard to block access to not just to the migrants, but to the Border Patrol agents that are flagging the migrants through on Texas land.
Yes, you basically.
When's the last time that Texas used National Guard against the federal government?
It's a long time.
Been a few years.
18-something.
Yeah, 1863, I believe.
But this is exactly what they're doing. It's like you have a Texas-based force that is defying the federal force. So it's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the federal force that's acting illegally, much as they did in the War of Northern Aggression last time.
Refusing to do their jobs. And then it's hilarious. When
it's even worse than that. I mean, it'd be one thing if they just walked off and didn't do their jobs, right? They're actually actively participating in the breaking of U.S. code by waving these people on through and getting them on airplanes. So
send them all to sanctuary cities who then cry that they can't take them.
Doing so. I mean, this is like a whole budget issue now in Texas. It's like, how much money are we spending enforcing what is a federal law that the federal government is not enforcing?
Right. Well, they have to do something to relieve the pressure locally, which makes sense because everybody's coming in to a very few areas. It's not like people are entering the country directly into Illinois or directly into Utah. Right. You've got to go through those couple of states that border, and those states just get completely overrun. So I have no problem with them standing up and saying, well, then if you're not going to help us, we've got to do it. It is a federal thing. So the federal government, I don't know what they're going to try to do. It is going to be interesting because.
I'm hoping for a conflict here, honestly, because what we need is a real moment to get people to realize that the federal government that we currently have not only isn't it's a non-elected government, because there's been so much data now and videos coming out of genuine election fraud, but it's a government that is it's literally working against laws that were passed by Congress by not only not enforcing them, but helping people evade them.
Yes.
It's treasonous. We have a treasonous federal government, and everyone's just going along with it. Whoa, that crazy Joe, he's an old man. He doesn't know anything. Well, whoever is behind Joe moving the strings sure as hell knows what they're doing. And what they're doing is treasonous.
Well, and you could also make the case that the Bidens are way too compromised at this point because there are money trails coming in from foreign countries.
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking, why is Joe Biden not caring, not enforcing? I mean, the case could be made that he's already in such a demented state that he doesn't know what's going on. But then you're right, there's the people behind him. Or you make the case that Joe Biden, who the video from maybe 20 years ago is circulating again with him talking before a small group of people, talking about how important it is to have secure borders. This is Joe Biden from like 20 years ago. So the question becomes, why the change of heart? And this is, I have no problem with a politician changing their stance on something, but they should explain why they're doing it. And you don't have that in this case.
Well, we don't know why. It's because
money,
somebody's
votes,
providing money for them to do it for whatever reason those people want it done. But anyway, if the ball's kind of in the court of the federal government right now, if they do something stupid, like try and actually engage the Texas militia, oh man, oh boy, the official Texas militia is going to be the least of their worries.
You think the citizenry...
Texas has more guns than the entire U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force combined.
Well, the real question becomes...
big guns, but what are you going to do? Nuke Texas?
Well, hopefully not. Your bunker's not ready
their
yet.
Only choice.
You got those ponchos, though, so you are at least one step ahead.
I am protected. I've been forward thinking. I've been providing ponchos to the folks that need them.
But really, you've got a National Guard, which is more or less equivalent to the Army. So, I mean, what is the...
Texas has the second biggest National Guard in the country.
So who are they going to send in? I mean, that would be the question. Are they actually going to send in the Army?
The actual full-time Army, yeah.
You know, and which the Army is not supposed to do anything.
How many people in the real Army are originally from Texas?
Probably a lot.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, like, whose side are you on, boys?
Yep. I'm telling you, this is so fucking similar to what we went through 150 years ago. Very, very much. And there's going to be an event. And this may very well be the thing that historians point as kicking off the second war of Northern aggression.
Well, because it's all a game of chicken. The feds have thought for the past few years, there's no way that the state of Texas is going to defy them. It's always been, hey, no, this is a federal thing. You guys don't get to decide.
Well, they keep talking about it, like, there's no way Texas is going to leave. They're not going to, they keep liking to talk about their independence and their ability to withdraw from the Union, but they're not going to do it. No, I'll tell you what Texas is going to do is Texas is going to be the ones that are actually following the laws of the country of the United States, which the federal government is not.
Yes. They're like, no, we're supposed to have a closed border, a controlled border.
How interesting would it be if a real civil war breaks out before the movie Civil War comes out?
When does the movie come out?
In a few months.
Could happen. We're getting there with all of the stuff with, there's enough of the far right crazy MAGA people. And don't get me wrong, not against the MAGA people, but there is a small crazy percentage MAGA that are vehement. They are ready. I mean, you want to talk about a powder keg. All of the stuff that's going on now, including the farce in Atlanta, where they're trying to nail Trump legally while their whole thing is falling apart. That, oh, I'm fucking you and you're fucking him, and this is all this is all just nothing but a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And that case, if that case gets thrown out, that is going to further embolden the MAGA folks. It's going to be interesting to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could talk about people being upset and crazy MAGA or whatever you want to call them, but having the National Guard be pushing out border patrol agents from an area, that's the kind of shit that starts bullets flying.
Because then the question is, what is the Border Patrol going to do? Well, now, they're under the control of Mayorkas, so it's going to be who's already looking like a joke. So it depends how big his balls are and how badly he thinks his face is hurt.
I would love for the federal government to try and tell him to push back, because I suspect a lot of those federal border patrol who are already unhappy that they've been told what their mission is their entire 20 years in that job. And then for the last 3 years, they've been told to ignore everything they've ever been told.
Right.
They're not happy. So I suspect there's going to be an awful lot of border patrol people that being told, well, you have to take over that territory because, it's the federal government telling you, not these morons in Texas.
And they're like, no, these people are doing the job.
Fuck you. That's it. We're switching sides. There's a lot of people right now whose only reason for working for the federal government is because they don't really have a means of getting a paycheck if they quit. But if something else happens, if they get to the point where they're being told to do something they feel is morally wrong, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of folks decide to not only switch sides, but do it very, very vehemently.
Well, as you said, Texas is very well armed. And if they have a cause, I mean, I just don't understand why what is going on isn't considered by most rational people to be an invasion. I mean, you have millions of people coming into your country.
Yeah, tons of millions of people coming into the country. The laws never went off the books. All the laws that Congress passed relating to legal and, by definition, illegal aliens. Let's use the real term, not the bullshit terms they come up for politically correct. These are all illegal aliens.
No people are illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, but they are.
Yeah.
And the case I always make is this. You've got a house. You're an average person living in here, the United States, wherever it is. If the government shows up at your door and you open the door, because that's always a bad idea, but they're like, hey, here's a migrant family, 10 people, they're living with you now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do that? You're going to say, okay?
Yeah, even though literally prohibited by the Constitution. But yeah, people would say, well, what choice do I have?
Well, this is
I'll lose my job if I don't do this.
This is what's going on at the border. It's like the fact that the country is no different than your house. It's just a different scale. There comes a point where, hey, yeah, you can absorb. Gene, I could go stay with Gene for a few weeks. He wouldn't have a big problem. He could absorb one guy.
I don't know about that. I mean, there's barely enough groceries for just one person here.
Well, as long as I have internet and I can go get up to the H-E-B and have them deliver, then we'd have more food. But there's a big difference in having one person come stay with you to, well, here's 15. They need to stay with you.
Yeah.
Can you handle that? Can your house handle that? How many bathrooms you got? Well, how many bedrooms you got? Probably not enough.
I mean, the snake has one. So,
right. If you want a room with the snake, you can come on in.
Yeah. Well, and this is what you describe is what happened immediately after the Bolsheviks took over in the Russian Revolution. So the Bolsheviks, because the Russian Revolution was not actually orchestrated by the communists. It was a revolution by the peasants, for sure, but not by the communists. The communists snuck in there, as they often do.
Sneaky commies.
Yeah, and even the term Bolshevik. So I'm sure you've heard that word before. What it actually means is the big guys, like the big something. It's the root of the word is big, which is by design, because in reality, the Communist Party was the smallest of the political parties. And so naturally, they would name themselves the biggest political party. Both in terms of people and in terms of representation, because, they represent everybody, but mainly themselves. And And so when the Bolsheviks took over, there was a lot of the serfs like started moving to the cities because there was no longer any control from the pre-revolution imperial government. And frankly, what that means is there was no services being provided. So
right. Everything was reset. It's like, okay, we have the land, sure. We have the buildings, but nobody's working. Nobody's taking the garbage. Nobody's.
Yeah. Exactly. And things like deliveries of products all stopped. And so a lot of people's only choice really at that point in surviving was, well, I'll just go to the big city. I'm sure things are better there. Well, the big cities were generally where not serfs lived, but more of the, middle class. And people that weren't working on farms, people that were professionals in business of some type. And so the population, I don't want to really say density because it's still a higher density in the cities, but, a lot of people that lived in the city, could afford to live in the city, had nice condos in the city, meaning a whole floor of a building kind of thing. And including my grandparents. And after I guess it'd be both great grandparents and grandparents, even when they were young. When the communists took over, one of their edicts that came out was that you have to start sharing your apartments. So everybody's apartment that has more than one bedroom becomes a communal apartment, and you will be assigned other people who will live there as well.
How did that work out?
So, well, for better or worse, like the penalty for not following orders is death. So it kind of worked out.
So yeah, a lot of people figured that.
But a lot of people who, grew up in their childhood in their ancestral home, all of a sudden had like 3 other families living in their home. And they were seen as, the remnants of the evil, bad imperial government that existed. And some people would then actually get fully kicked out of their own homes and reassigned to a bedroom in somebody else's home. I mean, it's a total clusterfuck.
Right. But that is what eventually happens when you have millions of people invading a country with nowhere to stay.
Yeah, they're gonna be staying, and that's what we saw in New York, where they've shut down a school in order to house these illegal aliens.
Right, because that's an emergency. We need to do it quick. In the winter here, I can understand that. Because if you drop off 100 people when it's 2 degrees outside, if they don't get inside, they're going to die.
And maybe they should.
It's like, well, you shouldn't come here in the first place without a place to live. I mean, it's one of those things. How do you think it would go if I just airdropped you into some European country when you had no money in your pocket, no ID? What do you do?
Well, I've run those scenarios, so I do know what to do. But
I believe that. Survivalist gene.
I might even have some drop boxes around there, but it's certainly not something that I think is being told to these people coming here that, oh, and by the way, you'll be a law-breaking illegal alien with no means of even getting food.
Correct.
I think the story they're being sold is like America with Joe Biden has got its arms wide open to everybody right now.
Yes, and you can walk right in and you can assimilate a new life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I saw here in the videos of Peter Santolini or Santangelo, whatever his name is over on YouTube.
Yeah, the Peter guy. This documentary is about.
He goes into all sorts of weird places.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was talking to the Venezuelan migrants that were staying in the Chicago police station, they were like, it's horrible. We can't work because we can't get because
it's fucking illegal for illegals to work. Yes.
So we can't work. We can't get money. So since we can't get money, we can't get a place to stay, and we can't get a place to stay. So we're sleeping on the floor of a police station. And when asked, a few of them were like, if you would have known what you were going to get yourself into, would you still come? No. Some of them have gone back to Venezuela. So that's the other opportunity now, is just fly the people back to where they came from.
Oh yeah, that's great. Let's spend the money for that shit.
because
Yeah.
they realize that what they're getting here is not better than what they left.
I would actually hire some of these folks, bring them down to Texas, and have them speaking Spanish as their job they're going to get paid for, telling how bad it is in the United States.
With bullhorns, like as people are getting to the
bullhorns.
border.
Yeah. Like officially supported and just massively spread them out to everybody that's within hearing distance of the border. Just say, you're being tricked. Do not cross over that border. It is worse here than it was where you came from. And that would be telling the truth.
Yeah, because nobody here is ready.
Yeah. I mean, look, it'd be one thing if the Democrats wanted to do this and simply change the laws. They had enough of a majority that they would change the laws. It would go through Congress. It would get signed by the president that removes a whole bunch of restrictions that we have. And it would simplify the immigration process from the current process, which uses a lottery system, to a free for all. If you can cross the border into U.S., you get to stay forever. What about even like Europeans? You know, when they fly here, and incidentally, they're going to start needing a visa soon, but they have all these restrictions on COVID. Adam talked about that even with his daughter, who lives in Europe, but who's an American citizen, incidentally, but she can't like bring her boyfriend over because he's not a U.S. citizen because they didn't get the jab.
Right.
You know, there's all kinds of bullshit that people that follow rules have to do.
Right. But you could just
And that's
walk
why I
over
was
the
saying
border.
At this point, well, look, all you got to do is just fly to the closest Mexican city.
Or Canadian.
I think that border is a little better guarded than the Mexican one. But you could literally just come across the border. I would love to see what would happen. This would be a fun video for somebody to make. Is what happens if you're a U.S. citizen and you're not hiding it, and you go through that same path of crossing the Rio Grande into Texas, being flagged over, given like a toothbrush and a hoodie and all kinds of little travel sets from the Border Patrol, and then being told which airline you're going to be flying on. And incidentally, there have been plenty of recordings of people recording that they're not even just flying in coach; they're putting them in business class.
Right. Oh, that was the other thing, because they need to do it quickly, I guess. They're putting them in business class, and they're buying non-refundable fares. Right, so people that actually
thousands of dollars,
have paid for the flights are getting bumped because they are on the cheaper fares.
Right.
So if you actually booked a flight, your family, you're going on vacation, it's very possible you're going to be interrupted because they need that seat.
I think that's less likely. But what is absolutely likely is all the frequent flyers that generally get free upgrades to first. They absolutely are getting bumped by these.
Oh, that's why you're mad. You're one of those guys.
No, I'm not, because I always buy first.
Oh, well,
so I'm usually the guy keeping other people from being upgraded to first, because I'm usually the first guy on the plane because I actually paid $1,400 for my ticket.
And then you paid for the ticket next to you for your caviar guy to fly along.
Yeah, no, I don't have a caviar guy in this state. So anyway, the deal is that if you were to do this legally, you could do it. It would take some time for them to get enough support to change the laws, but they know that support does not exist. The population does not want this to happen. And so they're effectively running the country by executive order right now. And the executive order is all those laws that Congress passed and were signed into law by the then current president. Yeah, we're just going to give an executive order that says ignore all those. The discretion to ignore prior law enforcement should not be up for grabs. That is not something that they should be allowed to do, and they're not allowed to do. Hence, we have a treasonous government.
Right. Well, they just claim that they're overwhelmed. That's the ruse here, is that they're overwhelmed.
Well, they're hardly overwhelmed when they come and destroy fences set up by Texas in order to allow freer access to crossing the border to migrants.
Overwhelmed, I tell you.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, that's the story they're telling. It's not true.
So as far as I'm concerned, I really do hope that this escalates, because this is maybe the only way that we can save our republic is by doing what Jefferson said has to be done from time to time.
Water the tree of freedom with the blood of patriots?
Yeah, tree of liberty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, with blood, including of patriots. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, those shouldn't be the only people dying.
You're getting choked up here. You are emotional about this.
It's just an emotional topic, man. You know, as a first generation immigrant myself to this country who believed in what this country stood for so many years, watching it disintegrate and literally get closer and closer to the USSR. Not to Russia, because Russia right now is a hell of a lot more capitalist than America is. But I'm seeing an awful lot of parallels between the current United States and what I remember from living in the USSR.
Well, it's the breakdown of law and order, which if you do this, as we're seeing on the border, and you do this with crime in all the big cities, as we're seeing with the shoplifting, we're seeing a point in history that appears that all of this stuff has accelerated at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had the Wild Wild West way back when.
I've been saying it's the quickening for a while.
But, you know, people used to get killed there because you had your own law. I mean, if you, you know, maybe that's the best way to go. Maybe we need to go back to that.
I've been rewatching the HBO series Deadwood.
Oh, I love Deadwood.
It is such a good series, man. It's worth a rewatch. I highly recommend it to anybody. And if you haven't ever watched it, you need to do it. It was made, it was one of the early series, much like The Sopranos, where they really made it in a film-like, very R-rated, full nudity, full gore and blood, and when people get shot and stabbed and everything else, you really see it.
I mean, and it may have had the worst language of any television show that I've ever watched.
Which they have discussed. The producers talked about the writing on the show was based on books and diaries and research of the era. So they're saying this is not us trying to be all like edgy. This is literally a recreation of how people spoke that lived there, based on their own words.
Swearingen was such a great character.
That actor is so underrated, dude.
What's Ian
he
something?
Such
right?
a good job.
Ian McCullough. No,
yeah. He's an Irish actor. He's done a lot of shit in England. He's actually, his natural accent is British or Irish, but his you could not tell. His accent in this show is extremely American. But they actually, in episode 1, I had forgotten this, they actually mentioned that he originally is an immigrant from, Ireland. They mentioned that. And then they completely never talk about it again.
Ian McShane. Yeah, that guy has a great voice.
Yeah, it's a nice raspy voice. He is one of the anti-hero characters that I absolutely love and hate at the same time. Like he does things which are clearly nasty, and he hides his malice from others, but there's such a rational mind behind him. He has an understanding. He's playing the 3D chess. He's doing things that are not based on emotion, but always based on a calculation. And he suffers plenty. Like he has in one of the episodes in season 2, he's passing kidney stones.
Right, I remember that.
He almost dies as a result of that, because remember, they had like no medicine to treat any of this shit, and surgery was very rudimentary. And so, like, either you pass them, and if you don't pass them and you can't piss, you die.
It's a different world.
Yeah. And then Trixie, she's a great character, also played by a British actress. It's funny because a lot of the actors in that show were British because they were cheaper. So you could get really professional, theater quality actors for a lot less money than hiring American actors out of Hollywood, because especially back then, remember, there used to be a stigma in Hollywood actors working on television shows.
Right.
Like,
TV
as soon
was
as you do a
beneath
TV
them.
show, you're no longer a movie actor.
Uh-huh. And this is where
Which is
Timothy
so
Oliphant
funny.
started.
What?
This is where Timothy Oliphant started before.
Yeah. He did one movie before that. That was it's kind of a flop, but where he was one of the main roles. And it was one of those, teenage sex comedy things. But this was really the first time that he was in a leading role as a leading man.
He was also good in Justified.
Yeah. Although I will say his range of characters is pretty slim.
Well, yeah, it's basically a cowboy with a bad attitude.
Yeah.
But it works.
Pretty much. Yeah, I think everybody did a very good job. All the actors, the guy that played Wild Bill Hickok, he just amazingly brought to life Bill exactly as I would have imagined him from reading about him.
And did you watch, they came out with a movie like COVID time, right?
I watched it. Yeah. And then I'm going to conclude at the end of watching the TV show, I'll re-see the movie as well.
It was a fun movie. It wasn't everything you wanted, but it was a fun little look back.
Well, it took too long. I mean, It took them like 15 years before they made the movie.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously that it wasn't a continuation of the story so much as a retrospective of the story.
Which is great film. Great filming. Yeah. And you're right. It is like because it was 36 episodes and probably 45 minutes apiece. It's basically like a 28-hour movie.
Yeah, really is.
And it is fantastic. I have to watch that again. And then I'll probably start swearing more for a while.
Yeah, cocksucker.
Right.
That's probably the most commonly used word because that's just general reference to any man in there is cocksucker.
And now, I mean, you'd be canceled for that. Now it would be funny for somebody to take.
Dude, no, you'd be canceled for the use of the N word like 1,000 times.
I mean, I want to know what it would look like to take one episode of Deadwood and make it okay for woke TV today.
It'd be about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And half the stuff would either have to be beeped or the words would have to be changed to something.
Well worth showing. And that got me to want to replay Red Dead Redemption 2, which, came out like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And I kind of replayed it once a year usually. And I was like, oh, this will be fun. Can't fucking log in there. And I've got tickets open with the company. Their new anti-piracy launcher bullshitty thing keeps not letting me log in, even though I can log in just fine on the website, but I can't log in a stupid launcher, which means I can't run even the single player version of the game.
Is it because your IP is in Moscow and they're like,
it is. I tried using a VPN. It didn't help.
Bastards.
I know. So I told them, look, my next attempt to prove that it's on your end and not mine, I'm installing this on a different computer, on a different network, through the same Steam account. And if it doesn't work on that computer, well, I guess we know it ain't on my end, is it?
That would be true.
Yep.
That's how you figure out half this stuff.
I mean, it's crazy. It's like you got to go and buy another $5,000 computer just to test a stupid game.
Well, maybe that's what they want you to do. Then just send me your old one if you're not using it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I got 2 old ones now.
Keep building up, man. I got them all sitting in the basement.
Yeah,
they don't
I'm
do
like
anything.
Tony Soprano, dude. I never dispose of old TVs or computers when I'm done.
You got to keep them. You never know when they might be worth money.
You remember that, right? From The Sopranos, Tony explains it, and it's actually a true thing that the mob never replaces TVs. I mean, well, they get new ones, but they don't ever dispose of the old ones. Because the theory is that as soon as the feds know that you just put in a new TV, they're instantly going to try and bug it. Like they're going to which honestly is how they do it. In reality, is they just get that latest model and then put the bugs in, and then when nobody's at home, they swap out the units.
When you're assuming that they all don't come with the bugs now.
Well, okay, The Sopranos was shot back 20 years ago.
Right, but I mean now.
Yeah. Well, now they do all come with the bugs. It's called Alexa.
These smart TVs that have the microphones built in.
They all have microphones these days. And you can't buy a TV without a microphone. And then some of them have cameras too.
You'd have to go in and disconnect them physically. And then maybe it would stop them from working.
Or, if you're just using it as a TV, or rather even just a display, you don't connect the TV to wireless.
Yeah, you don't want it on the Wi-Fi if you don't want to.
You don't need it on the Wi-Fi because what you're using it for is what's on the Wi-Fi, and that's plugged in just through HDMI.
Now there were cases.
Really, the TV itself does not need to be on Wi-Fi, but most people connect it right away because they're stupid.
As we talked about on Grumpy Old Ben's at one point.
Oh, is that show still going?
Still going.
Oh, man, I haven't heard of my old podcast for a long time.
Some of the television brands, I don't know if they were still doing it, but there was one, I forget which brand, maybe Samsung, that was looking for open Wi-Fi networks that would connect itself. Like, damn. Now with all of these like Comcast or, all of these open Wi-Fi accounts everywhere, there's stuff built into the TV that's like, nope, we can just have an account that we can get the data that we need. Somebody had posted something that on X that was like, why is my LG washing machine using like 3 gigs of, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad mine fell off the Wi-Fi. I haven't checked. I mean, I get it with some of these devices.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
you think your Kasori doesn't have a microphone?
When they, it might, when they lose connection and then just keep trying and trying and trying and trying, they're using bandwidth. So that's unfortunately when some of these things break, they just use constant data because they're trying to do something. It's not necessarily nefarious. Most of the time it's just stupid programming who don't know. Well, if we're having a problem connecting, maybe only try once every day or hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Rather than hammering on the network. But yeah, I noticed that the new air fryers have the Wi-Fi built in. The coffee machine we've got has Wi-Fi built in. And the only reason that I allow that is I understand that it reads the QR code on the coffee pods, which a lot of them have now.
Yeah.
And they adjust the strength.
They come out with new codes that it has to figure out.
So it's like, okay, if you want it to be able to read that, obviously you don't have to have it do it. You can disconnect it. I mean, it is a little bit weird when some of these things have services that are like, well, we could, if you buy your K-Cups through us, well, okay, you bought 100 of these K-Cups. Once you've used 90, it'll be like, oh, we'll reorder. We can track what you're drinking and know. That's all a little bit weird. I get it, as they were talking about on No Agenda yesterday, I believe they were talking about the refrigerators with the cameras that will be able to tell you that, what you're low on, or, hey, this package of meat is expiring in 2 days. You should use it. Or, wow, we see you have these 5 ingredients.
Hey, let me ask you a question about food.
Yeah.
So I've had some sauerkraut I pulled out a can in my fridge, and the expiration date on that was about 1.5 years ago. What the hell makes sauerkraut expire?
I don't know. I've had this conversation about so many different things.
It's literally
fermented
a product. Yeah, it's fermented cabbage, which kills all bacteria. Part of the reason you eat it is because it's antibacterial and it's actually good for you in that sense. What the hell would expire sauerkraut? So I'm going to eat it. I don't care if it's 1.5 years sitting in the fridge, because as far as I'm concerned, that's bullshit. It's one of the foods that you can and then eat like a decade later.
And I usually go at least a little bit past whatever the expiration date is, because one, we know that is a cover their ass date on anything that's on food. My refrigerator is so close to freezing that I know things are going to last a little bit longer. But I am curious about things in the freezer. Now that we got the new freezer, I'm finding things. We bought a bunch of chicken breasts that were individually vacuum packed.
Yeah.
Like right when COVID started.
Oh, yeah. You could eat those.
It's like, so 3-4 years, it's okay. I mean,
it's fine.
As long as it's been frozen the whole time.
As long as you never thawed them and then refroze them.
Right. No, they haven't. Although
technically, it's probably still okay.
Even at that point,
that's the only time the risk ever goes up. But you could keep foods that are solid frozen. You can have almost indefinite life. Now, you will have changes in taste after a while.
Right. A little taste and texture.
Yeah, they may not, because, the crystals are ripping apart all the cells in there when it's frozen. But I just picked up, I think 20 some or 20 or more chicken breasts, which did show up, unlike the lox.
Right. Well, the lox was good stuff.
Yeah, but specifically to put in the freezer. So I can just have a whole bunch of them. Because now that I have a freezer in the garage, I can have a whole bunch of food for when the real war between Texas and the
right. You want to be ready.
I mean, you're not going to be wanting to look for chicken after the militia is forming up.
Right. That's when the shelves at the grocery store will be bare. It'll be like the toilet paper at the beginning.
The federal government's going to block all, the whole Texas border.
I'd like to see that happen.
I would too. I really would, man.
In the troll room, trollroom.io, DigiGuru wants to know, is this live now? No, we are not live now.
This is totally not live. That's why we're not answering your question directly.
And yes, under the weather did mean I was dead damn tired from having to play out in the snow because our snowblower went under.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it is winter. It is under the weather. We have been under the weather. So if somebody wants to come shovel the walkway, I told the wife, that's all you. If you want to shovel the walkway. Like, I would just get a flamethrower. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that there are things and it's probably crazy, prohibitively.
I had one neighbor that had a heated driveway.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I know it would probably be prohibitively expensive.
I don't think it is. It's really not.
But that seems like the greatest idea ever. It
has to be a forethought, though. You can't do it
after the drive. You have to, right. If you get a new driveway, you build that in. You got to
lay the wire in like an inch or two below the surface.
And then you just flip a switch and you never have to shovel again.
Yeah. And it's not instant, though. It's one of those flip a switch in the evening so that by morning it's totally empty.
Right. Well, yeah, it's not going to heat up to like 1,000 degrees or anything.
Yeah. All you got to do is get it to 32 degrees.
Right. Freezing.
Yeah. And once it's just on the other side of melting, over time, all the snow will melt off of there.
But this is the first big snow I was going to say of the year, but then obviously the year just started, but of the season as well.
Well, we might get some snow next week.
Well, that would be even more fun when people are trying to come across the border.
Well, that's true, but it wouldn't be fun because when it snows here, the electric company decides to shut your power off.
Well, right, because the windmill stops spinning and then they don't have enough electricity.
Because the windmill stops spinning. Yes, thank you, Texas.
It's a genius idea, not having enough electricity for the folks that live there now, but let's bring more people in.
Yeah, I mean, that seems reasonable.
Can you just have some migrants run on a treadmill to power up your house or something like that?
That would help.
It's a great idea. Treadmills for migrants. And then have them generate electricity. Right. We could do a thing. We could have like a Live Aid thing.
It's going to get down to 33 degrees tonight.
Woo! It's 33 here right now.
Guess what it's going to be on Saturday?
Less, probably.
17.
Ooh, that is cold for you.
Guess what's going to be on Monday?
18.
10.
Ooh, wow. See, it's about what that's going to be here. That's interesting.
We're going to have a full week of sub-freezing weather, which probably means I will lose power before the next time we do a show.
And how's your generator?
I'm sitting in a box. I think I should probably set it up today.
Yeah, I would think maybe you want to check it out.
Yeah. And, that's what I was going to do today. I need to run out and get some fresh gas because my gas is like a year old.
Let me look at my weather forecast here. Sunday, the high, -1. Monday, the high, -2.
Oh, these are all lows, I'm telling you. The high is going to be right around 32.
Tuesday, a high, -4.
Yeah.
So 3 days below 0 Fahrenheit.
Well, thank God for global warming. That's all I can say.
Yeah. The lows, I mean, to be nice, the lows are only going to be -10.
Oh, so you're not even colder than we are.
I mean, -10 Fahrenheit.
Oh, negative. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're 20 degrees lower.
And then Wednesday, it's going to be balmy, 15, then 16 on
But I
Thursday,
think your
7
odds
on
of losing
Friday.
power are very slim.
True. That is true. I was supposed to have a dentist appointment on Tuesday, but when I saw the high was going to be -4, she called this morning right after I came in, and I'm like, can I push that back a week? I don't know. I don't want to be out
So
when it's
Monday,
-4.
when it's 10 degrees is when we're supposed to get the snow showers.
Well, we will be wishing you luck. Got to make sure that you have that emergency generator ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. I mean, I've got all the bits and pieces. I should probably run the cords right now before we even get there to the house. And then be ready to run that puppy if the power drops, which it's very likely. Given past history, 2 out of the last 3 years, when it's been freezing temperatures, I've lost power.
The next day that it is scheduled to be over freezing, and that is just at 33, will be the 23rd.
Wow.
So we've got a nice cold snap that'll be around here as well.
Yeah. By the 23rd, we should be back to 55 degrees.
See, the snake will be happy. You won't have to
right?
Stay up and bring hot water up every 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I've got heaters, and now with the generator, I could just run a heater in there, so I don't have to stay awake.
You just get that Vornado. I got a little Vornado space heater.
Yeah.
Thing works fairly well.
I've got oil heaters.
See, I should get one of those. Larry from that Larry show and from Planet Rage, he was saying those are the way to go.
That's the best heaters, yeah.
The little portable oil.
They're fully, there's no flames, nothing. There's just
sealed, right?
You can't light anything on fire with those,
which is good.
Yeah,
just generates heat.
Yeah, it's just a little heating unit. That
like the old way, the olden days. It looks like one of those old things.
Yeah,
from the houses. I mean, I remember going to my dad's when the house he grew up in.
Yep,
and being like, "What are these?" Like, no, really? Like, where's the internal heat thing with the furnace? And no, they didn't have those.
No. You had radiant heat.
So it'll be an interesting week, I guess, weather-wise for everybody. The country's going to be dropped down. People will be trying to cross the border. Gene will be trying to sell them ponchos. And what is going on? I mean, they've been talking in No Agenda Social here. I mean, on the troll room about No Agenda Social, and you mentioned it coming in. I've totally missed everything. What is going on?
I don't know. I've just been seeing
like people that are like trying to riot, or I mean, is this the equivalent of a No Agenda Social?
All I know is I'm happy that CSB put an X group of No Agenda, so there's
to have a backup
folks on X. Not even backup. I mean, I'm using it actively. I'm posting a bunch of stuff in there. There's a little over 100 people in there right now, but it's basically people that are No Agenda, fans, and they're on X, and it's a good place for anything related to the No Agenda community.
Well, it's always good, as it's been pointed out over and over again.
Yeah,
to have multiple avenues.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't want to be like, hey, the only way I know how to communicate with Gene is through No Agenda Social, and then boom, it's gone.
Exactly.
You want to have multiple areas.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just a little bit thin-skinned when it comes down, because I've heard this a lot.
Well, and before we get off the topic too, CSB sent us a boostergram.
Well, there were 2, I think, from him that ended up being for this show, probably because we missed the show at one point. Because I have one from January 5th and the 12th. When did we do our last show? Maybe that was on the 5th.
No, we
did it
one
last
week ago. We didn't do it 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the one for today, 10,000 sats.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, comrades, Gene and Darren. He knows.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to invite your audience to follow me on Twitter or X.com. My username there is CSB, just 3 letters. Any follower who follows me there for 33 days or longer will get from me $1 paid in Bitcoin Satoshis. Just let me know 33 days after following me and I'll transfer via invoice or lightning address. Yo, CSB.
I wonder if that applies to people that have been following him for over 33 days already, or if we need to unfollow him,
unfollow,
and then refollow him again.
Then refollow.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting concept because what I like here.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I think technically it's against terms of service of X because you're not allowed to pay for subscribers on X.
True. You're not allowed to go out, but can you reward the people that do?
Yeah, well,
follow you?
that's the gray line, right?
Right.
So where does that edge?
I think buying a follower means you would pay before getting the follow.
Well, that's how I've always done it.
So here,
not that I've ever done it.
Here it would be, well, follow me, but it would get people involved.
Yeah. No, I'm all for it. I think it's a creative way to get more followers, and the more followers he has, the more people will see my content that he re-X's.
Exactly.
So I'm all happy for it. I'm just saying, as a cautionary thing, is I think technically terms of service disallows things like that.
It will encourage people to get a Lightning wallet to get that sweet, sweet dollar.
Yeah.
Now,
and
I'm glad
I'm glad he's using dollars finally instead of just random number sats, because that's always been, I think, a reason for lack of adoption, in my opinion, is that a lot of people just never made or don't want to keep straight in their heads the value of sats. And as you've seen and I've brought up, people get all excited about sending you 500 sats and they're like, hey, how come you're not mentioning me? It's like, dude, you sent me 5 cents or less. No, you sent me like 2 cents.
$1 right now, 22,096 Satoshis.
Uh-huh.
So like for that instance, then CSB, the $10,004.36. That's all right.
Yep.
But I want to know, CSB, as a podcast host, if after the 33 days, can these people say, just donate that to Unrelenting? Don't send it to me. Send it to Unrelenting. That way,
there you go. Yeah.
Following CSB, you can get $1 to donate to this show for free.
I love it. It's good.
CSB gets what he wants, and we get CSB's sweet, sweet money.
Well, we do like that. That's always good.
Before No Agenda Social falls down.
Well, and before like somebody else comes up with this same concept and we don't get money.
Now, again, I think people have a little bit of a thin skin and people will be like, you're biased. You like Curry. It's like, well, yeah, but that does not, I don't think, affect much here, where people take things quite often in a very...
What do you mean you like Curry? It's literally the thing that has the name of his show that I mean, he didn't set it up. It was set up by another fan of his, but it's like, it's called No Agenda Social. If you're constantly disagreeing with No Agenda, because everyone's always ragging on John and occasionally on Adam, then, dude, go somewhere else. Like, no one's keeping you here.
But people have the very thin skin. They do not like to get told that either they're wrong or that, if they disagree with them, they take that,
Curry, you're on the wrong side of this.
And it's like, well, okay, that's fine. I mean, not everybody's on the right side of everything, and the way I always have looked at it is then make your case. If you think I'm on the wrong side of an argument, well, make your case, because I'm not really 100% stuck into anything. If you can give me an information that I go, wow, I didn't know that, or that's a new way to look at things. But they take things like Adam Curry saying, well, I hate memes. It's just garbage. It's like, well, that's his opinion. I don't like memes either. I don't find them to be all that interesting.
They're hilarious. What are you talking about?
And some people believe they are. It's just everybody has a different taste in different things. And that's okay. Nobody's saying don't do it. It's just the reality is when you look at No Agenda Social, you can see the quality of the conversations, the quality of the arguments that are being had, not a whole lot different than what you see on X.
No, I'd say no difference at all.
And that was always the thought, was if you have a smaller, like-minded overall group of people that come together on a social media site without all of that other bad Russian bots and without all the other bad extraneous forces, well, then it would be a much different experience. And we found out it doesn't really appear that it is.
I think No Agenda Social proves that there have never been any Russian bots. The thing doesn't exist. It's just a boogeyman created out of thin air to blame people with different opinions. Because, like as you say, the arguments and content type on No Agenda Social is just like it has been on Twitter previously. And the argument was always, well, Twitter's just full of bot farms and meat sockets or whatever they're called, popsicles, whatever the fuck term they're using. But basically accounts controlled by one person. And then, then you go to No Agenda Social and it's literally the same stuff. So unless No Agenda Social is a bunch of bots and sock puppets,
maybe. And cartoon doodlers.
Yeah. What's up with that? I mean, obviously those are not real. There's no way you can have this many people all posting original artwork. What a bunch of bullshit. That's all bot farms.
And you also know that no matter how stringent any sign-in form or hoops that have to be jumped through, there are always going to be people that get on that service that are going to want to do nothing but troll. They're going to want to do nothing but cause trouble. And people fall into it. Because I was like that for a long time. Was very hard to just walk away from an idiotic argument. And then you just learn. You go, well, not really worth the time.
No.
But if you're engaging, and then I see why people get all upset.
Yeah. And I've always tried to reply to anybody that posts at me. But I've kind of gotten to a pattern where I will do a maximum of 2 replies and then block the person. Because there's anyone who is intellectually open to discussion can engage in civil conversation on any topic. And, they generally, when your point of view is further explained and refined, they can find something in common and say, oh, okay, I see why you're saying this, but here's my thoughts and why I would still go the other direction. And that's perfectly fine. But when your post is like, oh, or when you read somebody that's in total disagreement with you, and then you reply back with, well, here's why I'm saying this, but ultimately, no matter how you slice it, this point stands. And their reply is, yeah, you just like to kiss Adam's butt.
Right.
Okay. Do I need this person reading my shit? No. You're turned off. You lose access to everything I write.
And it's certainly not worthy of engaging at that point.
Oh God, no. These people are NPCs.
It's like they're looking, they're looking either for attention, and it's everywhere on social media, and it's everywhere because we have a country where division, in a world really, where division makes people money.
It gets division.
Yes.
Yeah.
You doing William Shatner?
No, the new movie guy.
Oh yeah, the real low voice guy. In a world where division brings money to Soros, more division happens.
One man.
One No Agenda Social stands alone.
Yeah, exactly.
To bring peace, harmony, and freedom.
Yay!
But people get they get fractured very quickly.
They do. And I think a lot of people argue with their emotions and not with reason.
Well, there's a lot of people out there who take part in the value for value model by listening to shows who will
and never giving them any money.
Never. And it's like, I don't have a lot of money to give, but I still try to send it around when I can.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a part of the whole thing. It's like, if you're listening, if you're engaging, it is a fallacy, I understand, but it comes down to when you look at numbers and you see that you get 1,000, just say, to make the math easy, if you get 1,000 downloads, okay, you figure maybe 500 people are actually listening. And you're like, well, nobody even came in with a buck. Well, CSB did, but nobody even came in with a buck. And if everybody would just come in with a buck, then wow, this show would do really well.
Yeah.
And you understand, while that's not going to happen, you look at the percentage that is taking part in No Agenda's math has always been like a couple of percent.
Let me just say something that somewhat goes contrary to Adam's whole value for value model, which is, this is literally the reason that advertising exists.
But it is also dying.
No, it's not dying at all. This is why people that create content creators.
Yes, like us.
Use ads in order to generate money. And the reason is because there's still a choice. It is still optional for people to listen to them, to consume their content. But it is not optional to listen and not have the creator get paid. So people that are willing to put up with the ads in order to get content need to think for themselves and say, gee, if I like this enough to get it even with ads, maybe I like it enough to not get ads and just give some money to the person.
Right. Because, everybody granted, generalization, but almost everybody is paying Netflix. They're paying Hulu. They're paying Disney Plus. They're paying something.
Paying everybody. And, everybody kind of jokes about the amount of ads on some of these shows, like, Ben Shapiro's got an ad like every 5 minutes that he reads. It's really the old radio model, right?
Yes. Well, I was watching a guy
talk ad.
The guy that does Lego videos. In the middle of the Lego video the other day was like, well, let's talk about mental health. And I'm like, what the is that? What is that? No, I will say no beret too in the troll room. When Adam posted the question, how often do you listen to the show?
Yeah.
No beret's the smart ass that's like, what show? I listened to all of Darren O'Neill's shows. I'm like, hey, do not put me into this.
Oh, he dragged you right in, didn't he?
I'm like, do not do that. Thank you for listening, though. But it's like,
do you really give a shit if he listens, if he doesn't donate?
He has donated.
Oh.
I don't know if I think, no beret. He's donated to this show.
Okay.
And to Planet Rage and to, I think, all of them by now.
Well, it'll be kicked off by Adam soon enough, I guess.
Like you're donating to the wrong show. I mean, no beret, his note on a couple of them was $10 is $10, eh? And I'm like, yes. Now, if everybody that listens to a podcast and enjoys it once a month went, $10.
Yeah, or a buck.
$10 a year, even $10 at some point.
Yeah.
It all works itself out in the long run. It's like everything, you get to decide. If people go and spend $20 to go see a movie, they spend hundreds, if not thousands, to go see concerts now. So it's only fair to say, well, if you enjoy it, if you
want tickets with a bathroom, it is $1,000.
And if you want to keep those things around that you enjoy, you have to support them in one way, shape, or form. And I understand the Biden economy. Believe me, I understand the Biden economy. But the other things, people can do is like, well, go tell all of your friends to listen to the show. Somehow get them on board.
Mm-hmm.
Post about it on the social media. You don't even have to annoy your friends. Just do things that help support the show, which is why I post about No Agenda all the time. It's like, well, if people are following me, I figure this is one good way that I can funnel those through, and maybe one of those people that are funneled in.
We don't have a gigantic audience, but we have a decent sized audience. And honestly, I can tell you this because, I've done this with other shows. If we were to start placing 2 ads per episode in this show, we would probably be making around $75 to $100 per episode. It's not much, but it's more than we're currently getting.
Right. Gene, let me tell you about Blue Chew.
Yeah. What is that?
Hey, it's something that's fantastic. If you're with your woman and you need a quicker response time, Blue Chew without a prescription.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting, especially when you have a title. Have you thought of getting a title in Ireland?
Oh, no, I have not.
Yes. Well, luckily, we have a sponsor that sells those for a very reasonable $200.
Oh, I can be Sir Darren O.
Sir Darren O, not just plain old Darren O. Just make sure you use the discount code Sir Gene when ordering your title.
Right. I'm just that pre-show guy.
Mm-hmm.
Dvorak couldn't remember my name and people were like, whoa. And I'm like, no, this is as planned.
Pre-show guy.
Yeah, that's as planned. The less people that know my name, the better off I am.
The way I hear it, the pre-show to No Agenda is the second most listened to show on the live stream.
That is true.
Yeah.
Which isn't hard to figure.
Congratulations on stealing that slot.
From who did I steal that from?
That's the only reason you got that title.
Because I'm the hardest working podcaster on the stream right after.
Anything right in front of No Agenda would have the second most popular show. But okay, sure. Now it's your show.
No, I don't think it would be the 2 hours before anything that's on. I think people would then just tune in. I do believe the time slot is very helpful because people are going to listen to No Agenda. But I have more people.
Especially when your new time slot is literally when No Agenda used to start.
Right. That was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And lets you get up later.
Adam Curry in the troll room says, you reap what you sow, No Beret. And that is true.
Uh-huh.
I believe that 100%.
Well, and that's why we're poor.
Which is why. Exactly. Have you heard Unrelenting? We almost relented today because the weather sucked and my snowblower broke. And I'm like, I am exhausted.
Yeah, and then Gene said, fuck that shit.
Gene's like, I really need to talk to you about my fasting.
Get behind the mic.
And I had some coffee and I had some Gatorade and I stopped sweating profusely because this is the worst thing about the winter and clearing snow is that when you walk out,
like pounds of water.
I know, because you walk outside and it's cold. So you're like totally bundled up, but then you start basically exercising.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get hot very quickly.
I have not moved snow and don't plan on ever doing that for the rest of my life. However, recalling back to when I did use shovels as a kid, although I mostly tried to use the snowblower, but occasionally my dad would say, there's only 2 inches, just use a shovel.
You're like, but no, it's easier.
I like the snowblower. It's cool because it pulls me behind it.
Yes, it's fun. It's like skeeching all the way across.
Yeah, exactly. At like 1 mile an hour.
Safer too.
Yeah, man, because have you seen snowblower accidents? It's not pretty.
No, well, my parents, when I was growing up, it was a wheeled snowblower, but unlike these pussified big rubber blades that they have now.
Oh, no, they were all steel. Absolutely. Yeah.
They were big
this thing
steel
could shoot
corkscrew.
Through a tree. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was not for the faint of heart. You did not want to get in front of a snowblower.
You get scrape marks on your asphalt after using it.
I need a new snowblower. Of course, I have no money to buy a new snowblower, but
because we're poor. I know. That's exactly right.
Because we are poor podcasters. So support Unrelenting. This is 2024. Yes. It's a brand new concept. Support the show.
Yeah. Good New Year's resolution. Support the podcast that you listen to, even if you don't like.
Be like our buddy Dale from Down Under. That guy, we owe him a steak.
Dale, yeah. I mean, I hope he knows this, that absolutely anytime that he's in the U.S., or frankly, if I ever do make it down to Australia, that there's a plate with a steak on it with his name on it.
Do you have a guest room or guest house for Gene if he comes down your way, Dale? Just curious.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be okay if he just paid for my
first class airfare to get down to.
Well, I mean, I'm not even talking about that. If I get down there on a business trip and he wants to pick up a stay at the Four Seasons, I'm totally okay with that.
I don't think he likes you that much. I could be wrong, but I don't think he likes you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Although we could,
I'll buy him a steak, man. Come on, it's fair.
We could broadcast live from Dale's dojo.
Yeah, it's cool.
Something we can try out. A whole new thing.
Stuff. I may end up down in Australia. Like I said, I kind of had a conversation with one of my partners down there, and he said he's definitely going to see if there's some opportunities for me to come down.
Well, after the migrants overtake Texas, what else can you do?
Right?
You go to Australia.
Although the danger is if you leave your house for more than 2 days, you might come back to a family living there.